Hey everybody, and welcome to the first official video on the new AI Plays channel. My name is Ash, and if you're new here, AI Plays is a series that I started over on my main channel, the SSS League, a series featuring AIs that play video games. This is more of a bonus video that was born out of a comment that I received on one of the previous videos, in which someone suggested I have Playfun try to play Prince of Persia. Playfun, by the way, if you're new to this series, is short for Play Function, and it is the software program, the AI program that I use to play Nintendo Entertainment System games. I didn't write the program, it was created by a guy named Tom7. You can find links to all of his stuff in the description below. Playfun works in conjunction with another program called Learnfun, which takes training data, which is basically a series of inputs made by a human player. It analyzes that gameplay, and it tries to come up with what are called objective functions, which basically are values that it thinks represent progress in the game. And then Playfun actually plays the game and tries to maximize those objective functions. And that's what you're seeing on your screen right now. Playfun is trying its darndest to succeed at Prince of Persia based on objectives that it got from Learnfun, which in turn derived those objectives from data of me playing the game. Now, I'm not saying I'm great at this game, but I did slightly better than this. I mean, Playfun is moving in the direction of the exit, but yeah, you're not going to get past that guard without your sword, buddy. Playfun doesn't care, though. It keeps doing this again and again and again and again until I finally put a stop to the cycle of destruction. I fully expected Playfun to be very bad at this game. As I pointed out in my video where I had the program playing a bunch of different fighting games, Playfun's good at a lot of things. It is not good at finding its way around in a game world. And that's what you have to do here. You have to go all over the place, you gotta find your sword. Unfortunately, there's really no way to tell the program that that's what it has to do. Now, you may be wondering, if I knew Playfun was going to be bad at this, why did I want to do it? For one thing, I thought it would be funny. Like a toddler running full tilt into a glass door. As long as the glass doesn't break and they're not seriously injured. Reason 2 is just because I can. And reason 3 is I was interested to see how Learnfun and Playfun would interpret a game where progress is far more ambiguous than, say, a linear platformer like Super Mario Bros. I was expecting it to move around randomly, maybe do some funny things that I could commentate on, but it seems to have found itself a goal of some kind because this pattern of behavior, it's remarkably consistent. It does this over and over, sometimes with a few jumping jacks, or a hockey warm-up, or, you know, a little bit of wall humping along the way. I particularly love this one where he just comes in like a maniac, and then there's this one where it almost looks like he's just trying to nonchalantly sneak past. It's almost like he's trying different strategies. I began to wonder, why is he doing this so consistently? Why is he running through this hallway? Why doesn't he try to stay away from the guard? Since getting killed by the guard resets all its progress, whatever little progress it's made thus far. I should note that the training data that produced this gameplay did involve a few deaths. I did try giving it some deathless training data, in which I played the first level basically perfectly, but for some reason when I did that, it decided it wanted to embrace the hacker lifestyle. It went left from the starting screen, and I guess its strategy here was to skip the whole game by brute forcing the password system. Clever, I suppose. Not exactly practical in terms of beating the game before the heat death of the universe. So let's go back to the first instance I was talking about. To help me understand why the program was choosing this course of behavior, I needed to take a peek at what Learnfun and Playfun were thinking in a way that they weren't really capable of telling me. But luckily, to misquote Yoda, another there is. If Learnfun is the academically gifted child of the family with the A+ report card superglued to the fridge, and Playfun is the athletic one with a shelf full of sports trophies, then Scopefun is the quiet third child, the artistic one who sits back and silently judges the other two while plotting their downfall and world domination. I have younger siblings, I know what I'm talking about here. They also scribble all over your homework, which is kind of exactly what Scopefun does. After Learnfun and Playfun have done their thing, you can run Scopefun and it vomits out thousands of image files, each of which is a frame of a video, and when you put it all together you get a nice video that contains the actual gameplay of the game being played, and then it fills the rest of the image with a psychedelic laser show. Good gravy, what are we looking at? Okay, in the bottom left we've got a little controller graphic that shows which inputs are being pressed at any given time, and for some reason the Scopefun draws a whole bunch of gray behind it. Over here is a jumbled mess of lines that represent all of the objective functions that the program is tracking, As I've said in previous videos, Learnfun will find hundreds of objective functions for any given game, but it doesn't balance them all equally. Each one is weighted according to how important the program thinks it is. Of course, looking at this, it's really hard to decipher which line represents what. I don't know if the different colors mean anything or if they're just random. And then up here we have 3 separate rows representing a different kind of information. Now, the boxes of blinking pixels on the left, I don't exactly know what that is. I think they might be trying to signal the alien mothership, but it's this stuff over here that we're most interested in right now. These bars that kind of look like audio output meters, these represent how well Playfun thinks it's doing on each individual frame. Green means it thinks it's doing good, red means it thinks it's doing poorly, and blue is just neutral. Now these outputs are relative. If you see a lot of green, it means Playfun thinks it is doing well compared to a previous frame. The top one compares the current frame to how it was doing 1 frame ago, the middle one compares it to 10 frames ago, and the bottom one compares it to 100 frames ago. And then these graphs here are just a record of this output over time. Make sense? No? Too bad, because I've probably already bored half of you to tears. So let's just get back to trying to figure out why Playfun keeps running face first into the guard's sword. So what I'm doing right now is I've got the output from Scope Fun just loaded up in my video editing program, and I'm just going to scrub through it on the timeline, and we'll see if we can't diagnose what's going on with Prince of Persia here. You'll notice right off the bat, lots of red. It's very sad right now staring at this copyright screen, as we all are, when we have to stare at a screen that says copyright 1989 Broderbund and a license to buy Nintendo. Another common feature you'll notice, actually it's more pronounced if I go over here. You'll notice that, this spike is very narrow, this one's a little wider, and this one's very wide. And that's, again, because this is comparative, right? And so if there's a spike like this, if it's comparing it to 100 frames ago, that spike is going to last about 100 frames. Also, you can see the objective functions starting down in the bottom right there. Things are happening. So we got a lot of green spikes happening here. Playfun's very happy because the game is starting. And as the character starts moving, there's a little spike of green right here. And I'm not sure what is causing that. I thought at first maybe it was the character's X position, because, movement, like if you watch the videos on Mario, the X position of the character, which is how far, right and left it is on the screen, as Mario moves to the right, the X position increases, and Playfun really likes that, so that's why it keeps moving Mario to the right. Our Prince of Persia character here, his X position is increasing, but that doesn't appear to be the cause of that spike. And then there's another little one there. Playfun gets really happy here as we actually get into the level. Interestingly, as he starts moving his character, nothing's really happening here. Like, I do see some lines increasing down here that could represent the X position of our character, but as he moves to the right, there's not a lot going on in the relative measures up here. I suspect that movement isn't high on his priority list, interestingly. I find that kind of weird. Now, what's going on here? We get a humongous spike here. Let's just back up and see what's actually happening here. Like, there's nothing going on the screen. There's literally nothing going on the screen. I'm just going to play this quickly, see if anything happens in the audio there. It does hit a very high-pitched note there, right as that spike happens. That's actually... Hang on, I got a suspicion here. I'm going to play the audio here and see what happens. I'm going to see if those spikes match up with the music at all. Huh. It kind of matches up with the music, but it's not very precise. But this spike here, that happens right as the very first footstep is heard. And that little one also lines up with a footstep. This is something I'd never considered before, that maybe some of the objective functions are tied up in audio events taking place in the game. And maybe because it can't figure out what else it's supposed to do, those audio objective functions receive a higher weight than they really should. Because yeah, that does spike right as it hits that high note. There's also a lot of high-pitched notes just right on the screen transition here. It really seems to like those high-pitched notes. Watch what happens when I let it play a little longer. See how these 3 spikes really lined up well with the audio? I think we figured out part of what's motivating Playfun here is it likes those audio events. It doesn't appear anything's happening during this screen transition. It doesn't see this as progress at all. In fact, it appears to be, there's a lot of red there, so it doesn't seem to think that's making very much progress as he moves forward. Okay, interestingly, this screen transition, we get a spike of green. So it realizes it's making some progress here. Unless, I'm just gonna play this to double check it's not an audio thing again. No. I mean, that second spike here could be an audio thing. That could be a coincidence too, though, that it lined up with the music. So now we're at the crucial moment. He's running through the hallway. What's all this? When you see repeated spikes like this in the top row, you know, I'm pretty sure that indicates a particular value is being incremented multiple times. And you get these multiple spikes of green because, again, this is relative to the previous frame. It's not a continuous, you know, you're not going to see a continuous slope upward like you see. Down here, you'll see a slope upward. Like you see this objective function here, this gray one, whatever it is, you see it continually increasing. You'll see that down here. You won't see that here. Here you'll see repeated spikes if something is increasing more than once. For some odd reason, we're getting a bunch of spikes here as it, like, dives forward. The 2 big spikes do seem to line up with audio events, but that doesn't really explain all those half-height ones. Okay, watch this. It just keeps... Look at this. So we've got green everywhere here, including these repeated spikes that I told you about, which represent something being incremented. And we can see down here, if you look at the objective functions, so you can see a clear divide right here. This is the point where he got killed. This is the point where the sword hits him and he's dead. And these objective functions just start going crazy. Look at these uphill climbs. It's just going nuts. And then when it hits the button to restart the level, it gets all sad again. And we see, you know, a clear reset here. That is nuts. These are small spikes, but they line up with the music almost perfectly. This is crazy. What am I watching right now? And here we go again. It just goes crazy. So much green during this death sequence. Oh, big patch of red there. That's this red spike here. What happens at that red spike? It happens about 2/3 of a second after the music stops playing, which is conspicuous timing. I mean, it's hard to say for sure, but it could be that the music track that's playing, this death music, you know, there might be some kind of a counter that is tracking how far through the music track we are, and so when that hits the end and it either resets to 0 or stops incrementing, you know, it makes Playfun really sad because it thinks that value is important and it's not going up anymore. But then it quickly returns to whatever is going on here. you can see an obvious change happening right after the music ends. But even when it's completely silent, you still see these objective functions going up and up and up. Well, I think it's pretty clear what's going on here. Playfun be crazy, yo. It literally thinks that the objective of this game is to enter this hallway and get killed by this guy. What puzzles me is why these little endorphin hits that we're seeing up here begin before he reaches the guard. Begins like a second or two before the guard actually kills him. I'm surprised that it actually restarts the level. This indicates that it thinks it's succeeding right now. Why does it interrupt that to restart the level? Hi, this is Future Ash here. I actually figured out the answer to that question while I was editing this video. If you wait too long after dying, then the game will reset back to the title screen, which is a much bigger progress loss than just restarting the level. So that explains why Playfun opted to restart the level rather than sitting in the death state indefinitely. So we've diagnosed a couple of things here. One is that this death state is not coincidental. It's not just, oh, because the guard happens to be there or something like that. Playfun's actually trying to achieve that state. It thinks that it's making progress when it does that. Secondly, we've also seen that a lot of Playfun's objective functions are tied to audio events in the game, which is very interesting, and I mean, I suspected that would happen on some level. I never considered that it would be something that Learnfun and Playfun would consider to be super important, and again, I suspect that it's because it just couldn't figure out what the proper objectives should be, and so those audio objectives just got weighted abnormally high, because that's the only form of progress that it could see. Even though it's not real progress, it's just sounds playing that the program has no direct control over, but it doesn't know that. Well, if you've made it this far through the video, thanks so much for being along for the ride with me. I found this fascinating. I don't know about you. I know this video has been a little more on the technical side, but I hope you found it interesting, and I guess if you've watched this far, you've found it interesting on some level, but I hope you were entertained by it as well. Playfun is a fascinating AI system, but this gives a bit of a glimpse into, why it doesn't work well for all games made for the Nintendo Entertainment System. But I just find it fascinating to look at what it thinks progress made through the game is. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this as well. Slam the like button on this video if you enjoyed this content. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you want to see on future AI Plays videos, and I will talk to you again very soon.